Hey, hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Hold My Purse. I'm Ro, and today I'm walking you through 5 signs you may be abandoning yourself and not even realize it. And no, I'm not going to give them to you all up front because I want you to listen as we go through them and see what you recognize in yourself. Because when we hear the word abandonment, we usually think about somebody leaving us. But what about the ways we leave ourselves? The times we know what we need and we talk ourselves out of it. The times we know something feels off and we stay anyway. The times we become quieter, easier, more understanding, less needy because we really want the connection to work. So, this one has been sitting in my spirit for a long time because sometimes, the hardest part isn't that somebody didn't choose us. Sometimes it's realizing how many times we stop choosing ourselves trying to get them to. So, let's talk about it. But first, let's start with our journal prompt. Don't write the answer that sounds healed. Tell yourself the truth. Where in my life am I shrinking, silencing, performing, or overextending because I want to be chosen, accepted, included, loved, or approved of? And then, what would change if I stopped making someone else's capacity the measurement of my worth? I want you to write that down. And I want you to keep it close because we're going to come back to it. All right. So grab your coffee, your water, your wine, your tea, whatever you need, and let's get right down to it. All right. Sign number one. You talk yourself out of what you need. Communication matters to you, but because you like somebody, suddenly you're saying, well, maybe I don't need that much communication. You need consistency. Well, they're busy. Something really bothers you, and you think, well, maybe I'm making too much of it. And little by little, instead of asking whether this situation works for you start changing what works for you to fit the situation. And listen, I have done it. So let me tell you a story. So back in the fall of 2024, I dated a guy that lived in Colorado, but he had a boat that was docked here in San Pedro, which is not too far from where I live in Southern California. And he came to San Pedro almost every weekend. So we met on a dating app, we had chemistry, and we had fun. We started to, really spend some time together when he came to town. But I noticed real quickly that he was not a big communicator. In fact, he was very quiet, very reserved, introverted, very much a loner. And he didn't have a whole lot of interaction with his family. And, there's nothing wrong with that. But, me personally, I like connection. And I don't require a lot of attention. I don't need nonstop calling, texting. I don't. But I do need some rhythm. I do need some level of attention. And instead of just honoring that, I started explaining him to myself, like, maybe it's because he works in tech. 'Cause he's a tech guy. Maybe he's just quiet. Maybe he's not a phone person. Maybe, but here's what I eventually understood. His personality didn't make my need wrong. It didn't. But, we still spent time together. We went on a boating trip and we had a great time. And then he went home. And you know what? That joker disappeared. 4 weeks later, here he comes texting me about how much he missed me, how much he wanted to be with me. And I'm like, bruh. So I immediately texted his ass back. And I said in my little snotty way, you mean that same missing me you've been doing silently for the last 4 weeks? Bruh, please. Sir. Like, We're done. And the lesson wasn't that he was a terrible person. The lesson was that I almost negotiated away something I knew I needed because I liked him. We had fun together. And we have to watch out for that because self abandonment often starts with maybe I'm asking for too much, right? Sometimes you're not asking for too much. You may simply be asking someone who doesn't have the capacity to give it. And that love is different. All right. Sign number two, you care more about being liked than being at peace. Now, this one, because how much time have we spent wondering, do they like me? Did I say too much? Should I text? Should I just wait? Why did they say it like that? Why haven't they called? Meanwhile, there's another question we're not asking. Do I like how I feel around them? Do I feel peaceful? Do I feel respected? Do I feel steady? Do I feel like myself? Or am I always waiting, wondering, decoding, replaying conversations, trying to figure out what something meant? That, my love, that matters. And listen, wanting to be liked really is human nature. I like being liked too. I like attention. I like a text back. We're not going to just sit here acting, brand new. Like that's not a thing. But being liked should not cost you your peace. Sometimes we get so focused on being chosen that we forget we have choices too. You're not just sitting there waiting for somebody to decide whether you're good enough for them. You get to decide, is this good enough for me? And that question changes things. So when you find yourself asking, do they like me? I want you to add this. Do I like who I am when I am around them? Sign number three, do you call confusion patience? Because we can put a cute little outfit on confusion, right? We dress it up. We call it just giving them time. I'm seeing where this goes. They got a lot going on. They've been hurt. Maybe all of this is true. But baby, how long have you been confused? There is a difference between allowing something to unfold naturally and sitting in chronic uncertainty, waiting for somebody else to decide what they want. Sometimes seeing where things go is really just us waiting for someone else to decide our value. No, ma'am. No, sir. And this is always where potential can get us, right? Somebody has so much potential. They are the potential partner, potential business partner, potential friend, potential everything. But hear me when I say this, potential becomes dangerous when it makes you ignore patterns. You see, patterns matter, and your body notices patterns too. And I learned this the hard way. I was in I was in a long-term relationship and my body was giving me signals, right? And I'm gonna get real personal here. Whenever I was intimate with this individual, I smelled like Lake Michigan afterwards, if I'm just being totally honest. And I went to the doctor and was trying to figure out what was wrong. But when we weren't intimate, I was fine. I had no issues. And I knew something wasn't right. I was like, dude is out here sleeping with other people, and he doesn't even respect me enough to use a condom. I'm just being real. And later in life, the same thing happened again, and my tenants went up really, really quick, really quick. And it was, long term relationships. And do you know what my mind tried to do in that second relationship? It tried to explain it away. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe I'm overthinking it. And eventually I had to like tell myself, no, we are not doing this again. It's the same damn signal, same body, same knowing, and I ended it. So when I say listen to yourself, I don't mean that in some cute wellness caption kind of way. Sometimes your body is waving both hands, like warning, warning, girl, pay attention. Sometimes self abandonment isn't that you don't know, is that you know and then start negotiating with what you know. Let's dig into sign number 4. You perform the version of you they prefer. You know, the chill woman, the strong woman, the easy to get along with woman, the woman who never needs anything, the woman who laughs off something that actually really hurt, the woman who says, no, no, it's fine. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, it's absolutely not fine and you are on fire. Have you ever caught yourself editing who you are because you were trying to stay acceptable to somebody? Maybe you became quieter. Maybe you became less direct. I had that happen in the workplace. Less emotional, less ambitious, less needy, less complicated, less you. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that being chosen meant being easy. And honestly, a lot of us learned this early. Maybe peace meant keeping quiet. Maybe having needs caused conflict. Maybe being useful got you praise. Maybe you became the one who understood everybody else. And you got so good at reading the room that you could walk into one and become whatever version of yourself that room rewarded. Now, sometimes that's emotional intelligence, but sometimes that's survival. And there's a difference. You can be smart, successful, self aware, spiritual, read all the books, done all the therapy, got the journal, got all the things, and still shrink around somebody whose approval you want. So don't shame yourself when you recognize it. I just want you to get curious and ask the question, what version of me am I performing so this person will accept me? And then ask, what happens if I just show up as myself? Because the right connection should not require your disappearance. All right, here we go. The last one. Sign number 5. And this is a big one. You make someone else's capacity the measurement of your worth. They don't communicate, and somehow that becomes, I must not be worth communicating with. They don't commit. I must not be worth committing to. They don't show up. I must not be worth showing up for. They don't see you. And suddenly you're questioning whether there's anything worth seeing. No, we have got to stop doing that. We've got to stop. Someone else's capacity is not the measurement of your worth. Someone can lack the maturity to love you well. And that says nothing about your value. Someone can be emotionally unavailable, and that says nothing about your desirability. Someone can be confused, inconsistent, afraid, just downright selfish, emotionally limited, unavailable. And none of those things gets to become evidence against you. That's why being chosen and being aligned are not the same thing. Somebody can choose you and still not be good for you. They can want you and still not know how to honor you. They can come back and still not be ready. So the question can't only be, will they choose me? The better question is, I would argue, am I choosing myself while I'm connected to them? Can I tell the truth here? Can I have needs here? Can I be myself here? Can I stop performing here? Can my nervous system exhale here? Aligned does not mean perfect because people will disappoint us. And, conflict does happen. I'm not saying that it doesn't. This is real world. Relationships require work, but the connection should not require you to disappear to keep it. And that's what I'm talking about. Can I love without leaving myself? Can I care without collapsing? I can be disappointed without chasing. I can be soft without becoming silent. And I can want you while still choosing me. Okay. So now that I have called everybody out, including myself, what what do we actually do with this? Because, the awareness is great, but awareness without practice just has you sitting around kind of going, "Whoa, yes, that's me. Okay, now what? What am I supposed to do?" And this is why I created the Return to Self checklist. And it's on the screen. Use it when you notice yourself spiraling, chasing, shrinking, over explaining, obsessing, waiting, or trying to convince somebody to see your worth. Here are the 5 questions that you'll find within this checklist. What am I pretending not to know? Start there. Because most of the time, we know. We just might not like what we know, but we know. What need am I minimizing? Communication, consistency, honesty, tenderness, space, rest. Your needs are not automatically unreasonable because somebody else can't meet them. What boundary am I afraid to name? Maybe it's, this doesn't work for me. Just like I said about homeboy, I knew that shit didn't work. I need clarity. I can't keep doing this. Or something as simple as, you know what, I just need to take a step back. And, by the way, a boundary doesn't need like a whole dissertation. Sometimes it's just one sentence. So Give yourself grace as you're filling it out. What version of me am I performing to be accepted? Am I being that chill woman, the strong woman, the easy woman, the always available woman, the woman who never needs anything? Who are you becoming to keep the connection? And the last one, what would I choose if I trusted myself? That one. Because sometimes we already know what we would choose if we fully trusted ourselves. We just haven't practiced honoring the answer yet. So, start small. After you answer those questions in the checklist, I want you to choose one honest action in the next 24 hours. Not a huge life overhaul, not a dramatic announcement, just one thing. Maybe don't send that paragraph. Maybe ask the question that you want to answer to. Maybe let silence be the answer. Maybe say that doesn't work for me. Maybe just rest. Maybe admit I wanted this to be something it isn't. One honest action, one choice that brings you back to yourself. And you can download the free Return to Self checklist from the link below. I want you to keep it somewhere where you can reach for it when you need it. Because sometimes we all just need a reminder. I know I said a lot, so let's bring this back home, right? Self-abandonment doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes you talk yourself out of what you actually need. You sometimes care more about being liked than being at peace. You call confusion patience. You perform the version of yourself somebody else prefers. Or you make someone else's capacity the measurement of your worth. And none of those patterns have to become your permanent way of living. You can tell yourself the truth a hell of a lot faster. You can stop waiting for that fifth sign when the first one already unsettled you. You can stop making confusion romantic. You can stop calling bare minimum potential. You can stop asking, how do I get them to choose me? And instead start asking, what does choosing myself require right now? And choosing yourself does not mean becoming hard. It doesn't mean being cold. And it definitely doesn't mean walking around talking I don't need nobody. Baby, that's not healing. Now, if that's really your vibe, that's cool. But is that healing? To me, that sounds more like armor. The goal is to be able to love and still belong to yourself. All right, let's do a grounding affirmation. Come back here with me for a second. I want you to drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, take a deep breath, and I want you to repeat after me. I do not have to abandon myself to be loved. I do not have to shrink to be chosen. My needs are allowed to exist. My peace matters. And someone else's capacity does not determine my worth. I want connection and still choose myself. I am returning to myself, one honest choice at a time. Take another deep breath, and I want you to keep that with you. All right. If this episode made you think of somebody, send it to them. Because, sometimes healing really does start with, girl, you got to listen to this. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on those notifications so you know when the next episode or conversation drops. And if you don't mind, I want to know something. Which one of these 5 signs got to you? You don't have to, give me a whole story, although I'm happy to take it. I'll leave my email below as well. You can just drop the numbers in the comments. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? I want to see which one found you today. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Remember, you are worthy of a connection that does not cost you yourself. Until next time, stay aligned, stay unbothered, and hold your own damn purse.
This episode is brought to you by Self-Care Shawty, your go-to for homemade skin products that keep you moisturized, healed, and at ease. Discover these amazing products today at selfcareshawty.etsy.com. That's self-care shawty, SHAWTY.etsy.com.